everyone, to part 2 of going through Roblox stuff from the past few years. Next up is stuff from 2021, and if you haven't seen the first video series sort of a way, go back and watch that video since it covers stuff from 2018 to 2020. This covers stuff 2021 onwards, and here is some more pictures of that birdie racing game I mentioned in the last video. This, of course, was 2021, and this was the last time I truly properly worked on it quite a bit. I believe I worked some of it in 2023, but 2021 was like the last time I substantially put a lot of effort into it. But over the course of a few years, I have been on and off putting effort into it. And here is some crazy screenshots from Cool Beats Railways. Previous one was at Timasheds. This was at Ellsbridge with a whole bunch of Donald Douglases. So that was crazy. And here is a game that I've been developing with Carsland123, or otherwise known as O'Shane. I don't know. I'll put a link to his channel in the description and probably his username somewhere up on screen. One of the two at least. So, but anyway, this is a game that he and I have been working on for at least since 2021, hence the video. But here's a bunch of different scenery that I've done for the game. Work in progress Sudbury Crossing. Here's some tracks I developed at the time, and this was for a 1-to-1 scale map of Sodor, but those tracks ended up ended up using something different. But here we can see Donald Douglas crashed into, well, a very high-speed train wreck accident here with Pip and Alma. Yeah, so this was playing Take on Sodor, the main line, and you can even see in the background another train then crashes into the accident, and overall there's a big disaster scene. And in fact, here's another scene of Henry where he's in his old shape, but he's also missing his 2 front wheels, or I guess his bogie, really. So that was interesting, and later on we'll see a clip of how that plays out, actually trying to operate the model. Here are some other models I had done in 2021, like the very start of January. Got Signal Box going on, and this was a game where I somehow ended up on a very high piece of scenery, just somehow got there, and here is Boko smiling at some local arson. And here we can see Duck, the Great Western Engine, in a different Roblox game. This time I believe it's called the 8 Famous Engines, the 12 Famous Engines. Basically, it's a Railway Series game, which I believe is still open and public and gets updates every once in a while. And I haven't played it in a while. I really should, but it's a pretty good game. You can see in the white in the background, this was during winter. It was about January or December when this was being played. One of the two, I believe January. But anyway, this was around that time when this was a newer game, since I believe this got released during 2020. So it was a much more recent game, and of course, it had pretty good physics, but of course, because it had really good physics, the trains don't stop on the dime. So Duck ended up crashing into Gordon. Like a good Cemeterian, I removed Duck so we wouldn't hug up the turntable, and Gordon was a-okay to puff out. And then there's me just running around, and as you can see, it's winter time. There's Edward, and I still don't know how I managed to do this, but I somehow got stuck underneath the rails and fell to my death. Anyway, here's that clip with Henry where I try driving him and take on Sodor, and this was after the update where most of the engines got 3D faces, so that carbon dates this to, well, 2021 when that happened. And as you can see, Henry didn't operate very well. Here's Gordon taking a dip, which I posted on my Twitter at the time when this happened. And this is definitely December because it's really useful engines. But yeah, that was everything for 2021. That was about like Boxing Day with the really useful engine screenshot, but everything onwards from this will be 2022 stuff. And to kick things off with 2022, here's a signal box I was constructing at the time. It's that green cream signal box that you can see in the video itself. I'm using reference images from Series 3, where it's that one that was typically seen at Tidmouth and Knapford, and that was about it, since I believe somewhere along the time during the filming of Thomas and the Magic Railroad, it got damaged or destroyed or something. So anyway, I built it anyway to recreate Roblox, develop so I could have it to use a signal box. There's Birdie crashed into the bushes. And then another building at the time, which is definitely outdated, but I've since updated the textures and it looks much nicer. Again, here's some more screenshots. And this was that same Wellsworth game I'd mentioned that I had built with Cars Land 123, otherwise known as Shan. And here's some more terrain I had done. In fact, he had developed the Skybox with another friend, which can be seen in this one, which is super pretty. But yeah, those were some screenshots from the time. And here was another game I was helping at the time. You all remember Alvin's Islands, which I had mentioned in the first video, Roblox compilation video. Well, this was his attempt to bring it back, and I believe this was going to be called like Sudrine Industries or something, but this is Tidmouth Sheds, and here's me testing out the track with Murdoch. And here's me trying to prove that the track wasn't built quite correctly, because the engines were having trouble difficultly going over it, so my first thought was, oh, it hasn't unioned correctly. And for those who don't know, unionizing a Roblox piece basically means like you've grouped it together. It's like one solid piece. You can take multiple pieces of whatever you want, and by unionizing it, it becomes one piece. No, they aren't forming a union over bad labor rights, but I'm sure they would. Anyway, this is me testing Thomas successfully, because I thought maybe the model, but nope, it was indeed the track, and after I'd fixed it, you can see Thomas successfully running back and forth. And in fact, this is one of Shan's Thomas's, Cars Land 123's Thomas's, which runs very nicely, but of course, as I go over the bad bit of track, that's where some of the rails and sleepers have been unioned. But basically what you want for your railway track in Roblox, if you don't know this, you want the rails to be unionized, but the ballast and the sleepers to be non-collidable. Since if you don't have that, well then you're going to run into a lot of issues with your engines not being able to correctly run over the railway tracks. As you can see here, everything's working spick and span pretty much, so that's another positive. I had also done the scenery for this yard. I hadn't done any of the buildings, although there are a couple of my buildings scattered in the yard, but it was mostly his stuff, his assets, other assets that his friends had given him, and yada yada yada. So that was fun to do at the time. It was a bit something different. As far as I know, this got canceled due to some controversy with the person. I have personally never had nothing but pleasant experiences, but I didn't want to get involved with anything, so... And as far as I know, the project isn't coming back, but yeah, it was cool, and Alvin's Island Zone certainly showed in 2020 that Thomas Roblox game could be super realistic looking, and I think this still stands even a few years later. Now this is a project more closer to home. This is, well, Trevor the Traction Engine, except, well, you can see he's a little bit broken, and by a little bit, I mean quite a lot of it. This is the game I am still currently working on, called Island of Sodor, The Model Years, which is based on Thomas Friends Series 1 to 12, based on solely the model working. And here you can see Trevor got stuck, and this would have been filmed around November, December 2022, since it's got the snow texture, and we want everything to be all snowy and Christmassy, yada yada yada, ready for that year's beta release in December 2022. So this would have been for beta 0 to determine, okay, is this a feasible project which we can do, which has been determined so far to be a yes. Beta 1 has been under development for a really long time now, since it's going to be a big substantial update. We're hoping it'll be out by 2025 to coincide with the 80th anniversary of the Railway Series books. Trevor stopped working by this point, so that's the end of this clip. Now, while that clip had been at the total opposite end of the year, that image release for engines was from around January. It was still when the winter update was on. Here's some pictures of Knapford, some projects I wanted to get done. There's a signal box, and then there's another building, and just Ellsbridge, and just generally some other Roblox things I was working on. And some of these are a bit out of order, since you already saw when the signal box was completed, but by that point I'd only imported the images into Roblox to actually begin basing the actual, not the images, but the buildings off of. Here's Ellsbridge. It hasn't changed a whole lot, so that's good for me at least. Although I would like to do the Series 8 version, since, ironically enough, I think I used both Series 3 and Series 8 reference material. Yep, there you go. You can see the Series 8 image in the background, because that was one of the higher quality images at the time, because Series 3 images for reference stuff weren't always the best at the time. But up here we can see Legend of the Hills game, which is very new at the time. It was a new Roblox game, and honestly, I think it's pretty good. Although at the time it had a lot of controversy, although a lot of that controversy seems to have gone away. Again, here's more of Island of Sodor with the model years. which is, again, a project that I am working on with a group of developers. This is Vickerstown, early stages, and this was part of the Ballyhoo tunnels. Because in the Railway series, there's actually 2 Henry's tunnels, but that's a whole other story. This was some screenshots of the milk dock I was working on, thanks to some help with a tropical mango. I'll leave some links to their socials in the description. And that was the rest of the 2022 stuff, and on with stuff from 2023. So we could start 2023 with some screenshots from Alpin's Island Zone from Tim Shed's set that I had previously shown. This is when I had revisited the map and taken a couple screenshots. And this is some work I had temporarily done for really useful engines. This is Knapford Station's parking lot, which, yeah, it was something I was proud of at the time, and I still think it looks rather good. Since before there was nothing, and I think it was an improvement in general. Here's a little junction area I was working on. Eventually I was going to do sidings, but that never went through. Here is the site of the Duke and Duchess of Wexford's house being built, and this, of course, is for iOS the model years, Roblox Games. So this would be the logging area camp that we see in Series 12. A complicated set of points, which thankfully no longer exist. Here's James being annoyed by running along the road. One of our developers just being sad over so much work to do. Trevor glitching out, and a whole bunch of just crazy shenanigans overall while developing. This bridge, I forget this game, but it was very beautiful. Like the scenery, top notch. It was very well done. Again, this is another game I was playing at the time, which showed a bunch of signs. That was interesting. Again, I forgot the name of this game, but it was just fun to play them. But now we're back to iOS, the model years, a bit later in the year. There's Henry and Edward freaking out over the points not functioning. And I should point out, this was after 2022 beta. Well, no, I guess actually this is around December/January, and then January into the new year of 2023. So these are a bit all over the place, but you can see still development stuff going on. Gordon and his little ditch area at Vickerstown. Boko, that was definitely the new year. This is Crowman's Gate. Again, Legend of the Hills stuff, which again later in the year in 2023, but still early on. This is the Wellsworth game that I mentioned earlier, and you can see the scenery, and then Edward and Birdie. This is that one set from, what's it called? Oh, I don't remember the time. It's from Edward the Great? No, Edward's Brass Band, that's it. And so, it's not complete in any of the screenshots here, but you can see its process and development. Here's the top of Gordon's Hill I was working on at the time. And then here is, I was working on another Series 8 set at the time from, this was Edward the Great. And then here is a fun, creepy screenshot of Thomas from around Halloween. Here, of course, is some footage from really useful engines from, this was later on in 2023 when they were going to do some updates to the map. I don't quite remember where that went through, but anyway, here's just a massive train wreck, just colossal in size, just outside Knapford Station at James, Thomas, Toby and Henrietta, and then with them pulling express coaches, and then Gordon ramming into the back of that, just absolutely colossal in size. I thought it was just ironic how just such a colossal train wreck was just found on the game. I just find it amusing. Clearly, whoever caused it were the players on the screen, but even then, it could be players from beforehand that just cleaned it up, since it's like, oh, it's not my mess, why should I clean it up? And of course, there's Toby with me trying to pull the train if I can, but alas, no, that is not an option. So yeah, it's just Toby struggling. I do have to say, though, I look forward to Releaseful Engines 2.0. From what I've seen, it looks rather promising. More of a Series 4 than a Series 3 vibe. But even the original Releaseful Engines game, despite its shortcomings, like a bunch of stuff being overskilled and whatnot, it was still very well done, especially for the time it's like developed around 2020/2021. Of course, there's me just ramming into everything and seeing if I can strain out the wreck, which unfortunately I was not able to. And then here's just a funny clip of Thomas running away from Toby, who's very annoyed at the express coaches. I don't know, maybe that's meme-worthy potential or something on Twitter. Here is the thing I had done rather interesting. I had done custom textures for Roblox for, once again, iOS, the model years, and I think they're really well done. It's something I still do to this day. Here is Thomas, funnily enough, in a bit of brick, just trapped. Henry's tunnel. This would have been in spring of 2023, so again, all the 2023 stuff's a bit all over the place. Level crossing, and then here is part of the Normandy branch area, or rather the beginning of it. Met up with Mr. Engine 88, old Trackmaster user in Roblox. And then I forget which Roblox game this is from. It's one of the narrow gauge ones. I think it's called Mid-Sodor, the early years or something like that. Anyway, you can see me, without moderator, flying through top of Head's car, like across the map. Here's me at like various stations, the quarry, and just madness in general. Here's me playing releasable engines. Gordon has unfortunately derailed. Me trapped underneath food trains with friends, the map when it was very new. This was during the snow update in the orchard with the apples. Not all of them were anchored. Here is me playing a game of my own creation, the Brendan game I mentioned. Thomas on display map, which actually you can see a few screenshots of here. Percy with his woolly scarf in the logging mill area. And the display game is for Sodor, the model years, of course. Two Thomases glitched into each other. Oliver missing his eyes around Christmas beta release. A beautiful screenshot from the map in general. I did all the scenery for the map. Genty crashed on Boxing Hill Day stream. The same video I'd uploaded with Curtis, where I pushed him around the map. Again, an accident from that same day. And as I just mentioned, Curtis and I at Knapford Station at MC Buns. And lastly, here's a screenshot of Diesel D19 looking sad that he crashed while one of my friends was on a different Diesel D19. And here is, funnily enough, a video of a bunch of, I think it's just a bunch of Aries and birds, or just rather a bunch of Aries, regardless, traveling down the line with a friend into Henry's Tunnel on the Blue Train with Friends map, a bit somewhere, I think it was like November-ish, so before Winter Update. And yeah, I'm just going to end off the video here since, well, that's everything, and thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed both of these two parts.